In this video, you learn how to practice guitar effectively. Now, there are right and wrong ways to go about practicing guitar, and it's got more to do with how you practice as opposed to how long you've been playing regarding the success you have with the instrument. Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net, and in this video, I sit down with rhythm guitar specialist Mark Turko to discuss and demonstrate ways, very effective ways, to practice guitar that if you follow will guarantee great results. You learn key strategies that are so simple. If you follow them, it makes your life a lot easier on the guitar. We look at things like breaking things down into small, manageable pieces, slowing things down, isolating the hands separately so that you can focus on what each needs to do. Plus one approach that might seem strange at first, but is really, really effective. So make sure you stick around for that. If these things seem simple to you, well, as I said, they are, but so many students of the guitar do not do these things, or at the very least, do not do them enough. So join myself and Mark as we sit down and work through each strategy that's going to get you playing what you want to be able to play on the instrument in far less time. So let's get to it.
The first thing I have on my list is break down complex things or things you don't know how to do yet into smaller bite-sized pieces. So if it's something very complex or new to you, it doesn't even really have to be that complex, but even for me, if I'm learning something that's completely foreign to me, it's really not that hard. But for me, it is. You know what I mean? Because I've never done it before. You know what I mean? There's hard things, and then there's things you've just never done. And those are hard because you've never done them. But it really doesn't matter what it is, whether it's brand new or it's something that is very complex. Break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. For example, super basic type of thing. Okay, it's not even a matter of do this little part and then do that little part. It could be something as simple as focusing on one particular element of what you're doing. It's not necessarily the total execution of it. It's not, I do this and then I have to go into that. Well, guess what? What is your left hand doing exactly? If you're playing a bar chord around the 5th fret and then you need to play an open chord and your wrist needs to go like this in order to land all of your fingers coming down so they're not touching adjacent strings, well, guess what? This motion of your wrist is maybe something that you should be paying attention to. You're just not going to take your hand and just jam it down and try to make the chord, because then you're possibly touching adjacent strings because your hand is not in the right position. So it's not even a matter of what you do, like notes wise, chords wise. It's physically, what is your body doing that needs to do what it needs to do next? What's the difference physically of what you're doing? Number 2 is an oldie but a goodie. Slow down. Slow down. When you're trying to learn something, slow down. Most people don't want to do it. It feels like you're not moving fast, but I honestly, it's just not that I believe it in the sense that you should do it. I practice what I preach, and things happen a lot faster for me if I slow down and take the time to be able to execute it perfectly. That means I really learned how to do it correctly. I truly, really learned how to do it correctly. And then you'll never be able to undo that. I can always go back to playing it super slow and play it perfectly. Playing it maybe not even up to speed, but mediocre, and doing it 1,000 times and hoping you're going to get better, I think that's a slower process. I really, truly think that's a slower process. So it's okay to slow down, It's definitely okay to slow down. The consistency of doing it more frequently is more important than how much time you put into it in one session. I truly believe if you go really, really slow and you put it down, and you go really, really slow tomorrow, and then you put it down, and maybe you go back to it a third day, after that, things start to accelerate very rapidly instead of spending months and months and months of practicing it at a medium speed, mediocre, and hoping you're going to get better in 3 or 4 months because you do it 5,000 times.
It's the number one thing is, in fact, the two things you said. The first thing about breaking things down into small pieces and the slowing down are the two things that if people follow that, a lot of the issues they have with their playing will disappear because that's root level stuff. You know, often we focus on issues we're having and we treat symptoms, not causes. Causes are typically going to be you're playing too fast or you're not breaking it down enough into small enough pieces. And I often have said to students, if you think you're playing slow, take that speed you're playing at and halve it, and now you're playing slow enough. Because most will think they're playing slow, and it's like, no. Okay, I can see how you might think that's slow, but halve it. Now you're playing slow.
There's no such thing as playing too slow. First of all, there's no
No.
such thing as playing too slow. And second of all,
Yeah.
I tell them, when I tell you to play slow, what I mean is you can actually narrate with words what you're doing. Now I'm moving my hand and I'm making a C chord. Now I'm going to strum the C chord. Now I'm picking up my fingers and I'm going to place them down and I'm going to make a D7 chord. And now I'm strumming my D7 chord. If like while you're doing it, that's slow. Okay, so number 3, I have isolate your hands. And what I mean by that is you're going to do whatever you need to do with your left hand without using your right hand at all. That's it. There's no strumming. There's no picking strings. Your strumming hand is going to just be dormant. And all you're going to do is spend 100% of your time focusing on what your fretting hand is going to do. You're just going to be able to either work on your efficiency or your speed, but you're enabling 100% of your bandwidth of your brain to focus on one thing. It takes both hands to play guitar. So we're going to focus just on one. We're not going to even take a little, I don't care if it's the simplest downstroke thing, a fraction of your bandwidth is being allocated to strumming. Let's put 100% into just one hand and focus on that. And now the inverse is true when it comes time to either work on a new strumming pattern or a picking pattern, or especially if you're just new to learning finger picking and you're primarily a guitar pick player and you want to start working on it, allow yourself just to dedicate 100% of your brain just to learning the pattern. Don't even put your hand on the guitar neck, put it on your leg, sit on it if you have to, you know what I mean? I really believe that when you learn those two things in isolation, you're going to know them better on a deeper level, and then it's going to be easier when you put it together. Now, I use the word easier on purpose because it's not like magic. The second you put your right hand and left hand together, it may not be perfect at all, but I believe that it's going to be far ahead. Your progress will be much further ahead than if you tried to do both things at the same time.
Isolation is really, really important, and you've always got two hands, but often we forget about the right hand, or it depends, right or left-handed, but the focus tends to be on the fretting hand and we forget about this hand here, and it could be making really big movements unnecessarily, and you just can't give 100% of your focus to two or more things. It's impossible. You'll never be able to do that, no matter how good you get. So you've got to isolate and really focus on a particular thing and forget about the other thing. Even if it's doing whatever it's doing, that's okay, but your focus is going to be on whatever it's going to be on. And then if you can rotate through different aspects of what you're doing when you practice it, sort of like a focus rotation thing, then that's really going to help, rather than just trying to keep across everything at the one time.
Number 4 on my list is working with a metronome. Many fear this. You should not fear. If you fear this, you're just going about it all wrong. That's all that it is. Here again, I'm going to go back to number 2. Slow down. Most people have no problem playing with a metronome if they slow down. If you slow down enough, then you have enough of your brain's bandwidth to be able to listen to the click and still execute what you're supposed to do. You need to slow down because you need to make the guitar playing easier, because you need to be able to actively be listening to the click while you're playing. Most people just try to start off at whatever tempo they're hoping to achieve ultimately, or maybe they'll slow it down a little bit. Like you just said, their interpretation of slow is not slow. It might be slower, but it's not even anywhere near what our definition of slow is. So anyways, no fear. You should not fear the metronome. You need to make it your friend, because what happens is that I kind of equate it to almost being like this invisible line that once you cross it, you're going to pretty much have it. It's like this internal metronome inside of you has been set, and it's going to be working for the rest of your life. You just need to cross that invisible line, and it won't be so difficult. You just need to get yourself past that point. But the active listening part of it is the major component when you're first working with the metronome, because you just don't do your own thing while that's happening simultaneously. You need to incorporate that actually into your brain while you're playing. So here again, if you go too fast and you're focusing too hard on just the execution, obviously you're not listening to the metronome. If you make the playing part easier, playing along to a metronome will be easier. That's for sure. So now there's another thing in regards to metronome, which I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it now. If you are playing along with a metronome and you are playing it perfectly in time, and you have the volume of your metronome equal to the volume of your guitar, whatever that is, whether you're playing with headphones or an acoustic guitar, or I don't care if it's an electric guitar unplugged. When you don't hear the click anymore because things are happening exactly simultaneously, and for some reason it feels like the click just disappeared, that means you're doing it right. That means those two sounds are occurring exactly at the same time, and it's hard to hear the click. That's one thing that I recommend people do, that you adjust it when you're trying to test how well you are. In the beginning, make the metronome much louder. So then that way it is the prominent thing. But over time, slowly start decreasing the volume of the metronome, so you get to this magical point where the click actually disappears. Now, obviously, you may not be playing something on every single click, but when you play a note, a chord, exactly when that is supposed to happen, and you do it exactly with the click, it's almost like the two sounds cancel each other out if you're right at the right volume. And so I say, when the click disappears, you're doing it right. So number 5 is, after you've learned something and you know it fairly well, and you can execute it at a pretty decent level, start practicing it with your eyes shut. There's going to be 2 things that happen. One is that it's going to stink really bad as soon as you start doing it. It's going to be terrible. Don't worry about it. Get over it. It's okay. Now, if you have to peek and cheat and move your hand to make sure, that's fine. Now, I get it. If you're spanning 10, 12 frets up the fretboard, this may not necessarily be something that you're going to spend a lot of time in. Of course, you could use your eyes if you want to. But for other things, when you're relatively playing in the same location of the neck, start practicing with your eyes shut. When you do this, what you're going to want to do is visualize, what is it that your fingers actually look like? Because if you did open your eyes, so that visualization process will help you. There will be some, like I said in the beginning, there will be some kind of maybe feeling around. Don't peek every single time that you make the tiniest mistake either. Try to figure out, how does it feel when I land my fingers correctly? And if you didn't land them correctly, adjust to the best you can. What's going to happen is that you're going to start relying on your sense of feel more than your eyes. And I think that playing by how it feels underneath your fingertips is a much more reliable indicator as to whether you're executing something correctly. So you're going to know it on a deeper level. You're going to be able to do it without looking eventually. Plus, then you'll start relying on a more accurate way of knowing if you played something correctly.
If you would like help with your finger picking, the kind of help that gets you results in the most direct, efficient, fun way possible, then check out the Ultimate Fingerpicking Guitar course, a complete system for fingerpicking acoustic guitar, so simple even a beginner can learn it. I've carefully designed this course to do all the heavy lifting for you as far as knowing exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it in regard to mastering the art of fingerpicking guitar. All you have to do is follow the pathway I've laid out for you. In the Ultimate Fingerpicking Guitar course, you will learn and master all the key concepts, methods, strategies, and techniques needed for fingerpicking, so you'll never put your guitar down in frustration again, thinking, how the hell do I do this? You will also discover the exact order in which to do things, avoiding the all too common mistakes most people make when learning to fingerpick guitar, saving you precious time and frustration. Have your hand held every step of the way with the Ultimate Fingerpicking Guitar course. It will take you from wherever you are at right now with your fingerpicking to where you would like to be, enjoying every part of the process along the way. So click the link in the description below the video and check out the Ultimate Fingerpicking Guitar course. Let me know in the comments below what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. I read every comment and I do my very best to reply to them all. If you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Now, my YouTube analytics tell me that 80% of people who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. You might think you are, because if you watch a few videos, other videos will pop up in your feed and you'll think you're subscribed. So do subscribe, hit the notification bell button so YouTube also tells you when I've released a new video, which is every week. I also very much appreciate you being here today. So thank you so much. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next video.